Registration is the process where an access point contacts a ZoneDirector controller. It sends an LWAP discovery packet, and that contains information about the access point, including its hardware and firmware versions, the radio type supported, and the encryption services supported. The ZoneDirector will reply with a discovery response. Discovery response tells the access point the status of the ZoneDirector, including the system name, the MAC address, the IP address, hardware and software versions that the ZoneDirector is using, the maximum number of access points supported and the current number managed, and then some security information, for example the X5 and 9 certificates and a pre-shared secret for encrypted communications. So that's what registration is, but how do we get the access point to know where the ZoneDirector is so it can send that first LWAP discovery packet? There's a number of methods available to get that information to the access point, so let's look at those now. The first option, same subnet discovery. You've already seen how the controller discovery agent is enabled by default on factory reset access points. So if the ZoneDirector controller and the access point are on the same subnet, then the controller discovery agent broadcast will find any available ZoneDirector controllers and the registration process begins. Now, this just happens naturally. We don't need to make any special provision for the access points. As soon as they power on, they will discover the ZoneDirector and register. So this is the simplest and easiest way to get your access points connected to a ZoneDirector. The second option is to use the access point GUI. Back to the access point GUI, and one of the options that we haven't looked at is the set controller address. This is disabled by default. When we enable it, we have the opportunity here in the primary and secondary controller address fields to add the IP address of a controller. Once we've done that, we need to update the settings and then reboot the access point for this to take effect. The access point now has the IP address of the controller and will send a unicast discovery packet to that controller, expecting to get a response and then registering. Your next option, CLI. So we'll connect now to the access point, log in with the default username and password, and we can see if we issue the get director command that there is no configuration within the ZoneDirector, and that's as we would expect. In order to configure the access point to connect to the ZoneDirector, we'll issue this command. And then we'll reboot. So the command set director IP and then the ZoneDirector IP address will tell the access point where to go to connect to the ZoneDirector. Option number 4 is the use of DHCP and DNS. If you're not too sure about how DHCP and DNS work in ZoneDirector networks, then check back to the previous module where I go into a bit more detail about the DHCP and DNS options. With our dedicated DHCP server, we add DHCP option 43, subcode 3 for the ZoneDirector, and that will include the IP address of the ZoneDirector in hex, so you need to calculate that and configure your scope with these options. The access point powers on and does a DHCP discover, and the DHCP server responds with all the relevant IP information, including the ZoneDirector addresses under option 43 code 3. So the access point now has the ZoneDirector or ZoneDirector's addresses and can contact them directly. With DNS, simply create DNS A records for the ZoneDirectors using the name Ruckus controller. Now when the access point powers up, it will receive its DHCP scope allocations, and included in that are the DNS server settings. So the access point can now make a DNS query for Ruckus controller. The DNS server will respond with the Ruckus controller IP addresses, and now the access point has those addresses, it can contact the controllers directly.